Why be normal when you can have a castle all decked out in orange, purple, and beautiful bright yellow? This, my friends, is the unique, to say the least, Pena Palace, a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Sintra. Built for King Ferdinand II and Queen Maria II in the mid-19th century, the architectural styles run from Moorish to Gothic to Manueline to wonderfully weird. All splashed with every color of the crayon box. Outside, the palace is also surrounded by stunning gardens in the Romanticism style of the time, complete with waterfalls, bridges, and quiet spots for contemplation. And the curiosities continue inside the palace, where we find out the origins of this one-of-a-kind royal retreat. This courtyard is a very important part of the palace. That is because it is not just any courtyard. Does it look a little bit familiar, kind of like a church? Well, that's because it is, sort of. This was actually the cloister part of that 16th century monastery that King Ferdinand purchased to help create his dream palace and park. And all these beautiful Portuguese tiles that you see here, a lot of them were already intact when he purchased the monastery, but of course the king had to add his touches too, because when it comes to those beautiful Portuguese tiles, more is always more. That's right, the palace was built atop an old monastery, and around it too. Just look at all the rooms and wings of the palace. Perhaps the most grand is this one, the Great Hall. So come on in, watch your step. You are invited into the Great Hall. Isn't it great? This is where VIPs would be received here inside the palace. And greeting them, of course, we have this very exotic torchbearer. Now you see the torch he's holding there? That's ornate enough, isn't it? But of course, here in Pena Palace, everything has to be supersized. So that same design there in the torch with the 4 torchbearers is mimicked up here in this amazing chandelier. But that's not even my favorite part. If you look over here at this window, you see it's stained glass. Now we've seen stained glass windows before, but if you look closely, doesn't this look a little bit like a collage? Well, that's because it is. The king collected stained glass from all over Europe to create these 2 very unique windows. And come a little closer here, you know how the entire palace has the beautiful coverings all along the walls and all along the ceilings? Well, this one really takes the cake because it kind of looks like a wedding cake. If you look up here and you kind of see that pink background and that very, very delicate geometric design all done in white, I think it almost looks like lace. How did they do it? But as wow-worthy as the Great Hall is, after all that entertaining, a royal needs some rest. This is the king's bedroom, and it's got a couple of elements you might expect in a typical castle and a typical king's bedroom, like this beautiful 4-poster canopy bed with that royal red and gold just for the king. But because it's Pena Palace, there are several elements you wouldn't expect in a regular castle. Just look at the wall behind me. Can you see all these beautiful Moorish designs with all those beautiful natural elements to it? And guess what? Because it's Pena Palace, it extends all the way up to the ceiling. And you can see the patterns upon patterns upon patterns all the way up, almost mimicking the night sky. I bet the king had some really sweet dreams in here. Speaking of sweet dreams, it's time to wrap up our visit here at Pena Palace and head back to Lisbon for a tasty treat that tells the history of Lisbon.